Are you happy? Is your life turning out the way you originally planned? Wherever you are, it doesn't matter what's going on for you, the key to know is that everything can be turned around. Yes, everything. See, every one of us is working through stuff. Because when we're out there and we're unhappy and when the situations don't work for us, it's often because programming's dictated decisions that led you to that particular point. What matters is that you're working on it. So just remember, you're the only one that can do this. You're the only one that can make a difference for yourself. Other people can help, but at the end of the day, it's up to you. The thing that's going to change your life is you taking action. So why don't people turn it around? Well, because most of the time they just don't know what to do. They know why they want it to change, they know it needs to change, but they don't know what to do. They don't know how to go about making that change. So I'm going to take you through a process right now that'll show you step by step what it is you can do to start to make that difference. Start to change some things in your life so you don't have to have the same situation you currently have. So if it hadn't been for people in my past when I was struggling, in those times where things looked kind of bleak, I didn't know how to turn things around, I felt like I was drowning in my own life. If it wasn't for some friends who shared some things with me, in that moment where I really heard them, I thought, you know what, I have to listen. And I went out and implemented those very simple things. I could turn it around, and I turned it around relatively quickly. Now the speed that it turns around, it doesn't matter. It can be fast or it can be slow. The main thing is for you to recognize that it is turning around and it's heading in the right direction and it's gaining momentum. So you're feeling in a place of alone, abandoned, not sure what to do, overwhelmed, thinking nobody really understands what's going on for me. I get that. We've all been through that. There's not a person on the planet that's immune to it, but right now that's the place that you're in, and that's okay. The thing is, someone sent you this video or you just came across it. Now if someone sent you the video, trust them enough to watch it. There may be some things in this video that'll make a real change for you. The key is to be able to be open for it and say, look, I want to turn this around. What do I need to do? So the first thing is to acknowledge that along the way, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to muck up. You're going to get it wrong. And that's okay. You just start again. Okay, so starting again, and then the more you practice it, the better at it you get. I'm going to be sharing some skills with you that could be unfamiliar to you. Some of them might go, yeah, I know that. But then I say, are you doing it though? So the key is not to give yourself a hard time because you can't follow it through step by step and get to your end goal. The end goal is further down there. You know, we're not focused on that right now. What we're focusing on is just the first step right in front of you. And that's to be grateful. So whatever's going on in your life, there's something there in your life for you to be grateful with. And the key is to find out what that is. So some of you might be waking up in the morning. That might be a huge achievement. It might be getting out of bed. It might be being able to smile at someone. Or it might be a really big thing, might be not exploding when you really want to. So let's have a look at these one step at a time. By being grateful, you're looking for things in your life that are making a difference, that you are appreciative of. That starts to have you focus on the good instead of focusing on the bad. Up until now, you've been focusing on what hasn't been working. What's wrong? What needs to change? Well, what needs to change is our focus. So we have an intention of and our attention on what we want to have happen, not what we don't want to have happen. So many people out there are very clear what they don't want, but they're not particularly clear about what they do want. So that's really important. So by being grateful for things and looking for things to be grateful for, that can start to turn that around for you. So you start to vibrate with the frequency of what you want to attract, not what you don't want to attract. Because whether you, if you're afraid of something, that's what you attract. If you're really enjoying and loving something, that's what you'll attract. We're just a vibrating machine that's just attracting things according to our vibration. So the key is to turn it around so you start to vibrate in line with what you want. So my suggestion here is go to a close friend, maybe a family member, might be a parent. Parents are usually pretty good if there's not a big problem there with your parents. But go to someone you trust and just say, look, I'm looking at a few things about myself and I'm looking to make some changes. And what I want to ask you is, can you tell me two things, just two things about me that you admire or that you like or you think are good qualities? And then just go quiet. Wait for them to think about it. It's okay if they take a little while time to think about it. It's okay if they want to go away and make a cup of tea and think about it and then come back and tell you. It's perfectly okay. They're just working with that bigger picture of what's the best thing for them to say to you. Don't ask for any more than two. I won't go into reasons why, but don't ask for any more than two, just two. If they give you a whole lot more, great, but you're not asking for any more. So take those two, don't have a whole lot of discussion there. Take them away and start to notice how you do those things. You can even ask your spiritual helpers to show you in your life when you're acting out those two qualities. Or you can ask God to help you. Or you can ask your subconscious mind. If you don't believe in any of that stuff about God, that's fine too. This works in everybody. So you just ask your subconscious mind to help you notice when you're acting out these particular qualities. Now, as you start to notice you're acting them out in your life, yeah, okay, I can own that. I can see that is me. So there are some good things about me. And some other people have noticed it. Now, not everyone's going to notice good things about you. Trust me, it doesn't work like that. They notice very few, and that's okay. The thing is that you notice. When you notice these things about you, then it starts to change your vibration. It's like when people give you compliments. How do you react to that? A compliment is something you can be grateful for. So if someone says something to you, I'm really blah, 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 blah about you, take it on board. Say, write it in your journal. So go down to the store and buy one of those exercise books we used to use in primary school. And they're very cheap. And you just start writing it. Call it your gratitude journal. And start writing in it things that you've noticed that you can be grateful for. And every night, read it and write in it. Go back and read the last few pages, last 10 pages. If you can't think of anything for today, write down what you wrote yesterday. Ask yourself, am I still grateful for that? It might be whatever it is, your kids, it might be where you live. It might be the fact that the sun shined today, or that it rained if you like rain. It doesn't matter, just I'm grateful for this, blah, blah, blah. And write down as much as you can. It doesn't matter how much it is. It can be one thing. But make sure you get one thing. Don't go to bed without having written one thing down, okay? So as you start to notice these things, you'll notice more. And you'll start to notice them in other people. So instead of everyone out there being an enemy, you'll start to notice these qualities in other people too. Because you're noticing them in yourself, you'll notice them in other people. And you go, oh, there's that person over there's acting like blah, 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 or that person over there's being like this. And then as you start to see more and more good in other people, the more relaxed you'll be in your circumstances and your environment. Because before it felt alien. You felt like you didn't belong. You felt like, what am I doing here? I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time. Why isn't this working out? It's because we've been vibrating at a level that isn't creating what we want to create in our life. So this is what we're doing right now, is learning how to do that. This is how you begin. You begin by being grateful for what's already in your life. When you're grateful for what's already in it and grateful for what's happened to you, not everything that happened to you, we're not going there yet. So if something traumatic happened to you, we're not dealing with that right now. We're just dealing with your perception of yourself. That's what we're doing. We've asked for someone for help, and they've given us a bit of feedback that we've used as a life buoy. You know, one of those things that they throw you when someone's drowning. So you just take it and you start to use it. So gratitude's probably the most important thing you can do to help turn your life around. The more grateful you are for things about your partner. If your relationship's not working, the more grateful you are for different things about it, the more relaxed you'll be. So the thing is, as you're practicing these, you're going to make mistakes. I want you to be okay with that. I don't want you to go getting upset because you made a mistake, or you slipped up, or you forgot, or you just weren't able to do it today, or you didn't manage or handle something as well as what you wanted to. That actually doesn't matter. What matters is that you're working on it. As we say, you're a work in progress. I'm a work in progress. I talked about that in the last podcast. So you're a work in progress. You are going to make mistakes. Don't give yourself a hard time. Let it go. Just let it go and say, I'm going to do it differently right now. In that moment, start looking for what you're grateful for. Bring it back so you're starting to think about, okay, I like this in my life. I'm grateful for this in my life. I'm grateful for this aspect about myself. And then keep moving forward. Turning your life around can be hard. It can be really hard. Now, how hard it is dependent on you. You're the only one who can make a difference in your own life. Other people can help. Other people can be a catalyst. They can be the spark that ignites the change. But you're the one who makes the change, not anyone else. How you're able to make the change is because you realize you have the power to do that. Most of the time, people feel powerless. They feel like other people have control, like other people have the power over them, and they have to walk around in eggshells, or they have to be subservient, or they have to be submissive, or they have to be whatever it is to make sure that things go okay and that they feel safe. So if you're in a situation where you don't feel safe, then you need to reach out to the appropriate people who can help you with that. We all have the right to feel safe. All of us do. What we're dealing with right now in this podcast, in this conversation, is talking about what you can do for yourself, how you can start to change how you feel, your outlook on life. As that starts to change, so will the environment and so will the circumstances around you. That's what happened to me. I hung on for something for a long time, trying to make something work, trying to work with the perfect plan. And then I realized that plan was defunct. It was no longer viable. And at that moment, I was able to let it go and move on. Okay, so let's have a look at it. How hard is it to turn around? Well, that's up to you. The main thing is that you make the decision that you're going to turn it around. That you don't want life the way it is right now. So I want it to be different. And I'm going to do what I can to make that difference, to facilitate that change. Well, you have to take the steps. It doesn't work by sitting in the same place. And this is where we start to take responsibility for ourselves. I'm not talking about taking responsibility for everything going on in your life. No, I'm just talking about the next step. That's all I'm talking about, the next step. So take the next step. So the next step is asking your friend for them telling you a couple of things about yourself that they really admire, they like, they appreciate, or they value, or they see as good qualities that you have. And then you take them on board. That's the first step. Second step is start to notice it. Third step is to get out there and start to see it in other people. Work in your gratitude journal. All this is going to make a very big difference in small steps. It's not big steps. Don't go and try and make a big step. Don't try and change the relationship around completely right from the get-go. No, don't do that. You're not prepared for that yet. Let's get you strong and solid. So when you're strong and solid, you can handle anything. Did you know that? When you're feeling secure in here, you can handle anything. So that's what we're working towards. Because right now, that may not be the case. You may not feel like you have the power. It's okay if you don't. That's going to turn around. Why? Because you decided that. And once you've decided that, and you start to take the small steps, it will turn around. It may not end up looking the way you want it to look, but you'll look back on that in the future and say, you know what, that was a turning point for me, where I was heading this direction, and then I suddenly realized I really want to go that direction. I probably always wanted to go that direction. But this direction I was heading was the program that I've been given. This is what I'm supposed to do with my life. This is how I'm supposed to be. That life's hard. It doesn't have to be hard. It's hard by choice. And a lot of time that's programming. Now, programming is telling us how we're supposed to be feeling, how we're supposed to be responding or reacting in a certain situation. Well, I'm here to tell you that doesn't have to be the case. The more you progress along this particular path, the more you'll understand the power that you really do have. We really don't understand the power that we have for creation in our own life. And when we get that, we start to create whatever we want. We start to let go of the things we think we're supposed to want and start to focus on the things that really light us up, things that we really want to do. So it's also important to start to consider yourself. Often when we're working through things, we're either A, making it all about ourselves, and like, I'm right and the other person's wrong, or we're making it about, I feel powerless and I can't make a change and I feel like a victim in this situation. So, consideration of self. What does that mean really? Well, it means you matter. We all matter. The person you're having problems with matters. See, every one of us is working through stuff. Every one of us. And if someone says that they're not, then they're lying. They don't understand how it all works. Now, some people may not be aware of what's going on. They're thinking that that's how it's supposed to be, and not realizing it's supposed to be working through something. If you ever seen the movie Groundhog Day, that's what that's all about. The guy's just living his same life, then he gets caught up in this loop until he realizes, well, I'll just practice being a nice person. He practiced being a sloth and a lazy person for a long time, and that didn't bring any joy or any fulfillment. So he went around doing all these good things and he felt great about himself. And he finally got out of that Groundhog Day situation. Same thing happens with us. Same happens with the people around us. Everybody's struggling. They're all struggling with something. So the point is, if we're all struggling with something, that means the person you're having trouble with is also struggling. They may not be able to articulate it. They may not know what's going on. They might think that everything's perfectly okay. They might think they're completely right and you're the wrong one. That's okay. We're not here to change them. This conversation is not about them. This conversation is about us, you and me. I've struggled with stuff like that. And I thought the only way I'm going to be able to sort this out is if I work on me. Because working on somebody else, it wasn't working. So it comes down to, in the end, what am I going to do for myself? I'm going to be happy regardless of what's going on around me. And as you become happy, you start to make different choices. You start to realize you can make different choices because you're considering yourself. So one of the ways to be able to do that is start to say no and yes at the appropriate times. Now, if you're in an unsafe situation, it's not a good idea to say no. It's probably a good idea to be agreeable, right? So we won't deal with that right now. That can be dealt with in another area and with other people who are better suited for that. But right here, let's just talk about the situation safe. You're just not happy. It's not fulfilling you. It's not really what you wanted. It's not part of your plan. So in this situation, practice saying yes when you really want to say yes. Practice it. And practice saying no when you really want to say no. Now, I really struggled with this for a fair bit of my life. First 28 years, I said yes to everybody, for everything. And I found I was doing all these reports and I had so many reports I had to do for myself that my boss wanted me to have done by a certain deadline. And because I was really good at doing them, and I didn't get A's at school, but in the work environment, people thought I did a pretty good job. So other people started coming out and wanted me to finish their reports. And I'd say, yeah, all right. And I say, I've got my own reports to do, and some have to be done by 5 p.m. And they said, well, so does ours. And, oh, okay, all right. So I'd get it all done, right? It was wearing me out, though. I was a mess. I was wrecked, completely worn out. Then someone had this yes-no conversation with me, and I started to realize, yeah, I just say yes all the time. I really struggle with saying no. So I started to practice, and this is how I started off by saying, do you think maybe possibly it might be okay if perhaps I didn't do it, or I did it in a couple of days' time instead of now? Do you think maybe possibly that could be okay? And the person goes, no, you have to do it right now. Oh, okay. And I go do it right now. And I got better and better until I got to the point where I just say no to the person. Then I remember this time they said to me, what do you mean no? And I said, well, which part don't you understand, the N or the O? And they looked at me completely shocked. This is completely out of character for me. Well, it was who I was really being for myself. was out of character of how I was acting to have me be accepted in the world that I was living in. And it wasn't working for me. So I learned to say no. And once I started to say no in those situations, guess what happened? You're right. I got freed up to do the things that I really wanted to do. Now, initially, I didn't know what I wanted. So I ended up with all the spare time. And I thought, maybe I could do that person's report. No, I didn't do that. I had to actually start looking at, what do I really want to do? Now that I'm not doing all this other stuff for everybody else, what do I really want to do? And that's when I started to learn how to say yes for me. Not yes for other people, but yes for me. Now, it's okay to say yes for other people. It's okay to have a relationship work. I understand all that. The thing is what we're dealing with right now is moving you out of a rut. Somewhere where you're stuck. Somewhere you're feeling powerless. Like you just have to do what everybody else wants. And whatever you want isn't even considered. Nobody even asks you, or what do you want? They just tell you what they want. If you've got kids, that kind of happens a lot. Kids demand what they want. They scream and shout and throw a tantrum if they don't get what they want. So starting to focus now on what you want and start to say yes to what you need in the situation. So actually that doesn't really work for me. This would work for me over here. And sometimes the person say no, it has to be this, and say, well, I'm going to go do this, you go do that. And you go off and you come back at the end of the day or 2 days later or whatever, and you do something else together. So it's okay to do things apart. They start to realise that you become your own person. And as you start to become your own person, a couple of things will happen. They'll either start to respect you more, or they won't be very happy. If they're not very happy, it's because they're comfortable with the way you were. And often our environment is designed to keep us the way we are. Our family does that, don't they? You turn up at Easter or Christmas, Thanksgiving, whatever the situation is where the whole family comes together, and the family starts poking buttons because they want you back doing and acting the way you did when you were 10. Because that's what they're comfortable with. They don't see you very often in a year, and they want you to be exactly the way things were the last time, because then they know how to handle it. They know how to interact in that situation because it's familiar. And you turn up there and they start pushing these buttons and you're not reacting. Sometimes they can get upset. Oh, you've changed. I don't like the way you've changed. Well, that's their business. They don't like what's going on for you. That's their business. It's got nothing to do with you. It's got to do with how they're feeling. It's got to do with what's going on in their life. Not to do with you. So what we're dealing with right now is what's going on for you. So, are you starting to say yes to things that are important for you and no to things that aren't important to you, or things that don't work for you? There's a thing called compromise, where we do things that aren't our first preference, but it's somebody else who we really care about, it's their first preference. That's compromise, and that's okay. But if it's something you really don't want to do, then you need to say no. And then you find somebody else that you both really want to do. And then they go do that thing they really want to do on their own, or with somebody else. I'm thinking of it like an example of a roller coaster. They might want you to hop on the roller coaster. You say, there's no way in this lifetime I'm getting on the roller coaster. Getting on the roller coaster is not a compromise. That's been a disservice to yourself. You have to be able to say no and feel comfortable with that no. And they have to be comfortable with your no too. No good them going off being all surly and everything and being upset. That's their business. But it's got nothing to do with you. So you don't want to do that with other people either when they say no to you. So as you start to say yes and no in your life, just observe the reaction that's happening to the people around you. Those that get upset and those that don't. That'll tell you a lot about what's actually going on. So notice too how you feel about what's going on for them, what their reaction is. How does that make you feel? It doesn't mean you have to act on the feeling, but it's really important to acknowledge that it's there. You're angry, jealous, upset, disappointed, neglected, whatever it is that you're feeling, it's okay to feel that. It is. You don't have to act on it though, but the acknowledgement of it is the key part. As you start to acknowledge it, you become aware of what's going on for you. You can now start to tune in and discern what's actually good for you and what isn't. Because you've noticed these feelings. You're noticing what's coming up for you. You start to align with what your true purpose is. Because when we're out there and we're unhappy and when the situations don't work for us, it's often because programming's dictated decisions that led you to that particular point. Programming. So you learn to let go of that program over a period of time. And I've gone over that in other podcasts. And I'll be covering more and more podcasts because it's a very extensive topic. But right now we're dealing with, I'm in a place where I don't feel like my life is working and I don't know what to do. I do want to turn it around. That's what this podcast is about. As you start to become clearer about what you want, you also create this space where you can be okay with the people around you declaring what they really want and not see it as a conflict. A lot of us are being brought up like things are mutually exclusive. What does that mean? Well, it means it's either this or it's that. But it can't be both. All these quaint little sayings that we've been told our whole life growing up. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Who says you can't? Who said that's the way life is? So think about that. Can I have my cake and eat it too? Of course you can. You can always bake another one. So here in Australia, we have this wonderful child's story called the magic pudding. This little pudding, you take a slice out of him, and because he had carrots with arms and legs and stuff, take a slice out and it just grow back again. So it never finished. You can continue eating it your whole life and never finished up. But it's a grumpy old magic pudding. So the key in that story is you can have your cake and eat it too. So when you're okay with knowing what you want, and you become okay with when people around you start to state what they want, now all of a sudden you can really work something out where everybody's doing what fulfills them, what lights them up, their spark, instead of everyone being angry and upset because they're not really in that space of what they really want to be doing. They're having to put up with second best or third best or fourth best. Not necessarily talking about you personally, or them personally, but the situation. These situations devolve into a mess. We can turn them around. It is possible. Now, when you're talking about a relationship, it takes two people to turn it around. So what I'm talking about here, right now, today, is how to turn your situation around. Not necessarily the relationship situation. But I know from my own experience, as I started to turn myself around, things in my life became clearer. And when things in my life became clearer, I made better choices. And when I make better choices, I end up in different places. And all of a sudden I say, you know what? I really feel like I'm at the right place at the right time. Instead of the wrong place at the wrong time. Or the right place in the wrong time with the wrong person. Whatever it is. So just remember that you're the only one that can do this. You're the only one that can make a difference for yourself. Other people can help, but at the end of the day, it's up to you. So those are like the first few steps. They're small, but very powerful. You have to take those first steps. Play around with it. It doesn't matter how long it takes for you to get it right, to work with the gratitude and play around with it. And all of a sudden, before you know it, you'll be writing a whole page of stuff just from today of what it is that you can be doing. So it won't be long, you'll be doing a whole page of things that you're grateful for from that particular day. And it'll just start to flow. And then you'll start to attract all these things in your life that are of value to you. So they're only the first steps. Once you've been able to master or at least get reasonably good at those steps, the next thing I'd recommend is the spiritual cleansing. The spiritual cleansing is where it's a much more powerful technique to really start to make some changes and to move out some of that energies that aren't working for you. And you'll find that in the free ebook, Why Spiritual Knowledge Hasn't Changed Your Life. The thing that's going to change your life is you taking action. It's all about action. It's all about our experiences. So whatever situation you're in right now, you can say, I'm okay with being in the situation I'm in right now. But I'm not staying here forever. In fact, today's the last day I'm going to stay here. And then you take those steps we've talked about and start to move forward. But acknowledging where you are is important. Don't hate yourself for being in that position. Just say, that's just where I'm at. And as time goes on, we'll cover more about the programming that's led you into that position. And as we start to deal with that, you'll make sure that you can then not put yourself in a situation where that happens again, so it doesn't keep repeating. And that's when people talk about those patterns that go over and over and over. They keep happening because they're not making any changes. They're changing the situation, but they're not changing in themselves. So they just end up recreating the same situation. So we'll be covering that in a lot more detail too. So go get the free ebook, download it, read it, practice the spiritual cleansing technique. And there's a series of emails that come after that will really nurture you to get value out of that spiritual cleansing technique. So keep an eye out for those emails, check your spam folder, and I look forward to seeing you on the next podcast.